Hello, everyone. My name is Eli Kurtz. I am here with my good friend Drew Merzieski, and we are going to be playing a brand new game today. This
Yeah.
is Tellers of Tales, a concept that Drew and I kind of created together, although Drew has a really big creative hand in this. And we are using the TriCube Tales system, a brand new system that's sort of still in playtesting, written by my friend Richard Woolcock. So I kind of supplied the system. Drew supplied the basics of our setting idea. And we're going to do a co-GMing thing here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah.
It'll be fun and interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, first of all, you can find us at various places online. You can find me on Twitter at ZapDynamic. You can also find me on the brand new itch.io tabletop role playing game forums. And of course, if you're here, then you know I'm on YouTube as well. Drew, what about you?
Oh yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Worlds to Forge. You can also find me on our Discord, which I don't know how to get to.
I think for Discords, you need like an invite link every
You need an
time.
invite. That's right.
Yeah.
That's correct. But yeah, I'm at Worlds to Forge on Twitter. Also half of Artifice and Whimsy, which is not a production company, but it's me and my wife Allie, and we make creative things and we do creative stuff. You can find one of our things, Warda, which is our big project right now that we're doing. You can find that at welcome-to-warda.com, or you can find us on Simplecast at warda.simplecast.fm.
Yeah, and Warda is extremely good. That's one of the first times you and I worked together creatively, in
Yeah,
fact.
it was. It was one of those. Eli plays Sandir Chundali in that.
Ba, ba,
Which
ba, ba.
yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was a fun time.
Yeah.
It's really funny because somebody just got to the infamous episode 13.
Oh.
And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
I believe it. Wait, episode 13, that's in the original, not the Storms or Winds of Change, but in the
No,
original.
in Winds of Change.
Oh, okay.
So they got to that part, but I
Yep.
mean, by that point, they know exactly who you are
Yeah.
and what's going on with you. So it's all that much more interesting and emotion eliciting, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Well, I don't want to spoil anything for
No,
people
no,
who
no.
haven't seen
People
it,
should go
but
and listen to it. It's a lot of fun.
you absolutely should. It's very good. It's on a podcatcher near you. So, like I said, we're going to be using the TriCube Tales system, written by Richard Woolcock, and it's a very simple, lightweight system that you can put characters together. Like, we've got both of our characters on a single typed page. They're very simple.
Literally took us like what, 5 minutes each to do.
Yeah, it was very, very quick. And we'll get into some of the rules here in a little bit. But I think before we introduce characters and that sort of thing, it would make sense if we introduce the world a little bit too.
Yeah,
So you want to
let's
take
do
that?
I'd love to. So, a little backstory on this. Eli and I originally were thinking of doing like a Witcher themed game. We were going to be a couple of Witchers, out in the countryside fighting monsters. And while that sounds like a lot of fun, and it would be a lot of fun, I think we both sat down and we were like, hey, maybe we can find something a bit more suited to not just our needs, but to like maybe the world's needs, and kind of something that we both are really interested in. And I will say that I got this idea from reading a book called Secondhand Courses by Drew Hayes. And it's loosely based on that. That's like the seed of this idea came from Hayes's book, where it's basically we are what's called tellers, and we are tellers of tales. And we live in a world that is nothing but fairy tales. All of your favorite fairy tales: Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, the Elves and the Shoemaker, Hansel and Gretel, Big Bad Wolf, all that fun stuff. We live in that world. And as a teller of tales, we are a rare breed of people who seek to subvert the unfairness of the realms. Like, we serve kind of what's called, what I'm, for lack of a better term, called the balance. So the idea is, in this world of fairy tales, a seventh son of a seventh son will go and destabilize an entire kingdom, and will continually destabilize it as he gets more and more lucky. So we, as tellers, need to go in and either stop him or offset it someplace else and restore that balance for that kingdom, for that realm. And so we're going to go through, we're going to rein in curses, we're going to fight monsters, we're going to keep the world in check. But we're not always going to be on the side of good. Like sometimes we're going to have to be like, well, the witch here is actually in the right. She's doing herself with a balance. She's the evil part of this realm. You can't get rid of her. We need to defend her from the two hapless children that are going to go and luck will try to destroy her.
For sure.
So we're going to go in and we're going to like try to fix those fairy tales and make sure everything remains stable. At the same time, we, as me and Eli, we love fairy tales. I know that you're a big folklore buff as well.
Big time.
That we get to look at some of these favorite fairy tales and find the twists in them. Find the things where we're like, well, but what if? What if Rapunzel was put in that tower for a reason? And we're going to be able to look at that and fix those problems and kind of throw those takes on it. And we're going to figure out what we're going to do there. And we're going to take a lot from Arthurian and Celtic myth, Germanic myth. We're going to kind of keep it to that, I think, for the first little bit. What do you think about that, Eli?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think there's a huge stable of potential folktales in the world, but I think starting off a little focused is a good idea.
Yeah, so we'll stick to Grimm and we'll stick to Europe for the first little bit. We might go into some nursery rhymes and some other things, but we're going to try to stick there. But we're a couple of tellers, and we're going to go out and tell some tales.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So with that in mind, we can talk a little bit about characters and that sort of thing. The way TriCube Tales works for your character creation is that you choose an archetype, you create your perks and your quirks, you make up some gear, you grab your karma and resolve tokens, and you're ready to go. So let's talk a little bit about what that means. First of all, you write down your character archetype, which consists of a trait, such as agile, brawny, or crafty, and a concept, which you make up, but it has to be appropriate to the setting. So, for example, my character, Gottram of Parve Glynn, is agile, and his concept is the Fixer. He's a rake and a cunning swordsman. What about you, Drew?
I'm going to play Arnst of Wittgenstein, who is he is crafty, but his concept is that he is the brains of the operation. He is a lore master and an amateur wizard as well.
Delightful. I'm going to have to start up my my own German accent for this as well. So basically, like when you are doing an activity, you ask yourself, does this conform to my archetype or does it not? So, for example, I'm an agile character. I would roll 3d6 for any challenges related to agility, dexterity, reflexes, or stealth. And then I also roll 3d6 for range attacks, but there might be exceptions to that based on my character build. Whereas Drew, as a crafty archetype, would roll 3d6 for challenges related to intelligence, willpower, perception, or charisma, and also roll 3d6 for mental attacks. Whereas if we don't have the appropriate trait for a challenge, we would roll 2d6. And if a particular challenge requires specialized knowledge that goes beyond the scope of my character's concept, I reduce the number of dice that I roll by 1. So for example, like if I'm doing something that requires me to have quick reflexes, I'm agile, so I would roll 3d6 for that. But if it's like you have to have such quick reflexes that you could be, an astronaut or something, then maybe I would only roll 2d6 because it's specialized knowledge that goes beyond my concept of being a rake and a cunning swashbuckler. Does that check out for you, Drew?
That checks out for me too. Like on my side, if Arnst is going to be, if he's going to like figure out what this monster can do, I'm going to roll 3d6 for that. But if Arnst is going to have to like swing on a chandelier and kick the guy in the face on the other side of the room, that's beyond my purview. I might roll 1 for that.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's not only outside the purview of your archetype, but it's also something that would require specialized knowledge that you don't have.
Exactly.
So it's outside your archetype, you would roll 2d6, but then it's also special knowledge, so it's actually just 1d6.
So like, I would imagine that Arndt, being a teller, is not an excellent swordsman, but he knows how to hold a blade, so he'd roll a 2 What do you think about that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think, well, it kind of depends on, what your perks and quirks are like too. So let's
That's
talk
true.
about
That's true.
those at this point. Basically, perks are benefits and quirks are drawbacks in terms of, personality traits, but maybe some examples would be helpful here. So,
Hmm.
Gottram of Pave Glen, he has 3 perks. He is nimble as a cat. He has a cunning skill with falchion and buckler. And he is a fast talker. He can get himself out of many situations using only his silver tongue.
Oh, this is very good. It's very good. So Arnst, he is wily as a fox. His mother used to tell him that all the time. And he has a magical coat of many pockets. You reach inside, you can pull out something that you might need in that moment. He's also a master of organization. And he spends much of his time organizing things and making sure everything is in its right place. He's compartmentalizes quite a bit.
Wonderful. And I'm
Um,
sure that's not just a metaphor either.
no, 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 no. It's not a metaphor. No.
Good, good, good. Very nice. Okay. And then we also have quirks. Quirks represent handicaps and personality traits that can sometimes make life difficult for you. And so Gottram's quirks is that he is enthusiastically hyper-masculine because he doesn't know any better. He is born to trouble, and he is saddled with a fairy tale curse. He does not know what fear is.
I like that. I like that is your quirk and not a perk.
Yes, because you see, it leads to harm far more often than good.
Yes, yes. Arnst has the scars to prove it. Arnst's quirk. He is books are better than people. To Arnst, he is. He says many times, "In case I am wrong, and I am never wrong." And the last of it is that Arnst too has a fairy tale curse. I almost feel like it is something that tellers have, that you are saddled with a curse and become a teller. But his curse is that he knows no sleep. He never sleeps.
I love it. Yeah, and actually, you had originally written your perks and quirks up, and I saw that you had a fairy tale curse, and I was like, oh yeah, I gotta
Oh,
cop that
absolutely.
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so gear is just a narrative tool. I don't even know that we really listed our gear because
Oh, we didn't.
I figure we'll just handle it in the moment. Basically, it's like, you have your equipment for flavor purposes, but essentially kind of Blades in the Dark style, if you need something, you've probably got it. And we'll just have to police that ourselves.
Yeah.
I mentioned that everybody has certain tokens, karma and resolve, and for those of you who are watching the video, you can see on our Roll20 game board that we do have karma and resolve tokens for each one of us. And Drew, while I'm explaining this, you should double check that you can move those around because I am not totally certain that you can.
All right. Let me double check. See if I can. Select and move.
So karma,
No, it
you
does
cannot.
not look like it can.
Okay, well, we'll figure that out in just a bit. But let me describe what these things do, right? So, karma tokens are used to, I believe, re-roll a failure. Let me just make sure about that. Using perks, using quirks. Okay. Characters with a relevant perk can ask for clues and insight into a particular situation. They can request temporary benefits, such as items or aid. They can overcome obstacles that would normally be impossible for other people, and so on. The precise benefits and uses of a perk are always at the GM's discretion. However, a broadly defined perk has a wider scope. Therefore, a more narrowly defined perk should have more impact when they do come into play. Basically, to refer back to these character examples, I am nimble as a cat, and that could have a broad range of applications. So I might not be able to get as much out of it as I would my Master of Falchion and Buckler perk, which means that, that's only really applicable when I'm having a fight, but it should be more applicable in that moment, right? I know I said I was going to talk about karma and resolve, and that's where this comes in right now. So if a player wants to use a perk to significantly impact the story, they must spend 1 karma before making any appropriate rolls. Karma can also be spent to reduce the difficulty of a challenge by 1. this is always decided after rolling, and only one karma can be spent for each challenge. So you couldn't spend a karma to, significantly impact the story and spend a second karma to reduce the challenge by 1 at the same time. But we're talking about challenges, so let's talk about those. Gameplay involves overcoming various challenges. A challenge has a difficulty of 4 to 6, where 4 is fairly easy, 5 is a standard challenge, and 6 is difficult. The GM should make most challenges difficulty 5 by default. And so we roll 1 to 3 d6 dice, depending on the archetype. And if at least one die equals or beats the difficulty, then they succeed. Otherwise, they fail. If they succeed with more than one die, it's an exceptional success, and the player may narrate an additional benefit. If the player rolls a 1 on all their dice, the result is a critical failure and is always very bad. And so the game master should come up with a particularly interesting complication to introduce to the scene. And the GM may decide that certain challenges require extra effort to overcome, which is represented by the GM's effort tokens. So if they are relevant to our game or a scene or whatever, either you or I, depending on who's wearing the GM hat at the time, can say, you know what, this thing is extra challenging, this monster is extra tough or whatever, so you're going to have multiple successes as represented by these effort tokens. And we'll just have to see how that works when we get to it, because this is our first experience with this game.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how you use perks and karma and how they relate to challenges. Now let's talk about quirks. So you can use a quirk to modify a roll, but you have to declare it before you roll the dice, as opposed to perks, which you can do afterward. When you describe your action in a way that incorporates your quirk, it increases the difficulty of the roll by 1. So when you use a quirk, you're making things a little bit harder for you. However, when you invoke a quirk, normally you recover 1 karma.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So you can say, I have the quirk Born to Trouble. So I might get into the situation where we're chatting with some people and I'm a fast talker, but I'm also born to trouble. So maybe even though I'm fast and I'm like quick-witted, I'll say something wrong and actually make it a little harder for myself, but I can recover a karma when I do so.
Nice.
Alternatively, I can choose to recover 1 resolve instead. And resolve is basically your hit points. So when you fail, there are 4 possible outcomes: critical failure, normal success, or exceptional success. It's a spectrum. If someone's trying to translate a magical text and they have no background in magic or the language in question, then even an exceptional success might probably provide them with less information than a scholarly mage would obtain on a normal failure, right? So your archetype and my archetype matter in context. There should always be a price for failure. The price is often obvious. The character might miss in combat, fail to climb a wall, or get spotted. The GM might also introduce a complication or remove a resolve token. So your resolve is your hit points essentially, but it's really just the investment that you have in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And so if you fail, it might be that one of those consequences is, you lose a resolve token. And since you only have 3, that is pretty significant. And a critical failure might mean that you lose 2 resolve tokens. So this is something to guard against. Defeated characters suffer an affliction appropriate to the situation. You're defeated when you run out of resolve, and the victor, whether that's a player or a GM, decides the fate of the entity that ran out of resolve.
Nice.
Yeah. Afflictions are described by the victor and treated as temporary quirks or permanent quirks if it's caused by a critical failure, except the GM decides when to apply them. PCs with more than 3 afflictions are retired from play, at least until the afflictions are cured. Death might be an affliction, but it's always handled through the narrative.
Okay.
And while a player might decide to kill their foe in combat by giving them a fatal affliction, the GM should always warn players in advance if a challenge could result in death. So basically, players can choose to kill themselves whenever. A game master should always let players know death is on the table here.
Yeah.
Certain afflictions like fleeing and fear are removed automatically at the end of a scene, while others might last for hours, days, weeks, or even longer at the GM's discretion. A character with an appropriate perk can always spend 1 karma to remove an affliction, but permanent afflictions cost permanent karma to remove.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that is the entirety of the rules. This is a 2-page system. It's designed to be extremely lightweight, so the rest of it is just going to be left up to our imaginations.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm actually really excited about this. This will be a lot of fun.
Me too. I think so. I think we're going to, stumble through this at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's going to be fun.
So this could be us not only learning the system, but learning the world. Like we don't know how we're building as we go, which is one of my favorite things in the world. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. So we need to find the fairy tale that we're going to encounter here. Basically, the format that you and I came up with is that for every session, we'll each contribute 2 ideas for folktales, and then we will roll randomly to determine which one we do.
Yeah.
I'm just realizing I don't have a D4 out in front of me, so
I just realized I don't have a D4 either.
that's fine. I mean, we could roll a D6, and then just if it's over 4, we can roll again.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So the 4 fairy tales that are under consideration are Clever Hans, The Strange Musician, The 3 Snake Leaves, and all 3 of those are from Grimm's Tales, and then also The Legend of Melusina.
Which is Arthurian, isn't it?
I believe it is French originally, but it's got variations all around Europe.
Okay, so it's during. Okay, no, I understand.
So we need to roll and determine which one of these we should do.
Cool. Do you want me to do it or you?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Gotta roll again. 1.
A 1. Clever Hans.
Clever Hans.
And so, this one, I think this is one that you had submitted, right?
I did. So the story is, do you want me to tell the story just basically, or?
Yeah, we can give the broad strokes, I suppose. But really, one of the reasons why I was asking is because whoever's picked the story is going to kind of take the lead as the GM in that session.
Cool.
We'll still trade off, but I imagine it's your story. You'll kind of guide it a little more than I will.
Excellent. No, that's perfectly fine. I like that. I'll give a basic overview of this story. The story is basically there's a boy named Hans who's in love with a girl, and he wants to win over this girl but doesn't know how because he's not too bright. And so he asks his mother what he should do. And so this girl who he is in love with continues to give him gifts. So like the first day, she gives him a needle. And Hans, that morning, asked his mother what he should do. And she said, you need to go to the haystack. So he takes the needle and he puts it in the haystack. And then the next day, he tells his mother what happens. And she goes, no, you don't put a needle in a haystack. You put a needle in your sleeve. He goes, okay. So the next day he goes to the girl. And as he goes to the girl, she gives him a knife. And so he remembers what his mother said last time. So he takes the knife and he puts it in his sleeve. And this goes on and on and on and on and on until it costs him the love of the girl. And poor Hans. He is no longer clever. And that's kind of the rough story that happens. So we will see what the twist is as we build this story and see what's going on. Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
So we've got that. And I think at this point, we're probably ready to get into the storytelling proper. So you and I had talked a little bit. We both are big fans of this high and low introduction to the story. Would you, and we also talked about dividing that up between the two of us as GMs.
Yeah.
Would you rather take the high level portion of that, or would you rather take the low final fade in to the scene?
I'll take the high, actually.
Okay.
I'll take the high to the low. So I want you to picture it for me real quick. There is a land stretched out beneath us. It is day. Let's call it mid-morning, like 9 o'clock. The sun is has risen, but is not high in the sky yet. And this land that is stretched out beneath us is a patchwork of fields and farms. There are also mountains. There are also forests. There are also lakes and rivers and deep, dark woods and castles in the background. We can see that there's a bunch of different realms all around us. But beneath us is nothing but farmland. And we, as we look over this patchwork quilt of farmland, of things growing like wheat and rye and barley, as well as vegetables like corn and squash and small gardens, as we begin to move our way down into this land, we come across a small village in the middle of this patchwork as we delve down into this land. We'll go with you.
Okay, cool. So this village is home to some 40 people. Not a big place. We're talking 6 or 7 cottages. We're talking a community bakery building. There is, of course, an inn for travelers weary from the road, but it's the inn where it's like, you know, there's an eating area downstairs and there's a single room upstairs where you can roll out your bedroll. And because it's morning, there are people who are just starting to rise from their or emerge from their cabins. And they're heading out to the fields to harvest these crops. They're going to the bakery to ask the baker when there's time throughout the day for them to come in and bake their own bread. They are, you know, making a trip over to the blacksmith stall to see about those nails that they ordered 2 days before.
Oh, is there a mill?
Yeah, I think so. The mill is probably actually connected to the bakery.
Yeah.
And I think it is a windmill. Normally, there are a lot of water mills in the world, but this is a place that's wide open enough, this part of the countryside, that they can get some decent wind power from that. So we've got this windmill that's really the dominating factor of the skyline. You know, it's the only building that's taller than 2 stories, and it's more like 4 stories.
Ooh, it's a big mill. That's good.
Yeah, significantly. And we are moving through this village, listening to people talk about, you know, talk to each other, greeting them for the day, moving out to do their tasks. And we head to the inn where there are 2 figures who are outside the inn already, sitting on a chair or leaning against the wall or doing calisthenics or something. One of them is a lean but robust man who is dressed from head to toe in black leather with lots of buckles and straps. And hanging off of one hip is a fluted, sort of leaf-shaped buckler. And hanging off the other hip is a falchion in its scabbard. And he's got his hair pulled back into a tight ponytail. And he is leaning up against the wall. He's got a piece of grass in his mouth. He's kind of brooding. He looks very seriously at the day around him. And he looks down the way and sees his friend. And he says, "Arnst, it is almost time to begin the day. What are you doing?"
It's not much, my friend. I'm just taking a morning walk. You know, we are new to this town. I'd like to see what it looks like in the morning and not the evening like when we got here last night.
But the evening has more wine.
Yes, Gottram, the evening has more wine. But the evening has something we like to call light and does not have light, and we need light to see, at least. So I have taken the morning to walk around, and besides, I've been out all night walking around, so at least we can do that, yes?
You did not sleep again last night, I see.
No, I have not slept. But then again, I never do.
That is because you are tough.
Yes, of course, Gottram. Arnst is a shorter man. He's only about 5'10", 5'11". He's of a slighter but lithe build. He has dark hair, kind of a close cut beard to him. Um, his hair is longer but pulled back into like a bun at the back, and he is wearing traveling leathers, um, traveling leathers, like high boots, whole thing. But the main thing that you see that he wears is this long, kind of to his knees coat with a high collar, and it's covered in patches and covered in pockets. Like everywhere, there's a pocket. Um, and he jingles when he walks because he's got a lot of stuff like on his belt. And the most striking thing about him, though, other than his dark hair and his blue eyes, is that on his hands he has tattoos that go all over his hands. There are circles and look like diagrams, symbols, and sigils all over them. And his a couple of his fingers look like they're blackened permanently. Um, and that is him. And he walks right up to Gottram. He goes, so, tell me. I was out all night scouting the land. You were up not all night, I would suppose, but what have you learned, my friend?
Well, I was awake later than you might have thought. I was just in my room, of course, with a bevy of ladies.
No, Gottram, I assumed such, since that is what you do every night. But, did you learn anything besides the local miller's daughter's name?
Well, in fact, I have learned that the ladies of this village are harried by a brigand on the roadsides.
You do not say.
Yes, apparently he gives them outrageous tasks to perform.
Like what?
Oh, to bring gifts to him, and then apparently he rejects these gifts. He's fickle, you see.
That's very interesting. But is he just a brigand? Is he just a bandit? Is perhaps the mayor of the town? He could take care of it.
I suspect it is something deeper than this. I do not know, but I think if we were to go investigate, we would find there is something more to than meets the eye. You see, there is no way that this village of bumpkins could create a specimen beautiful enough to command the attention of so many ladies. Only I could do that.
You're a cad, Gottram, you know that. But I will agree with you. I will agree with you this one time. So, what do you say? What should we do? We should probably seek out this ruffian, or at least the ladies that he seems to accost all the time, see what we can learn. But for it to be truly worth our time, if we are to tell this tale, then first, give me a moment.
Yes, of course.
Arnst squats down in the dirt and draws a big circle and begins to like draw different sigils and stuff around the circle. He reaches into his pocket and his hand goes further into the pocket than it should actually be, goes like up to the elbow. And he reaches out and pulls out a rat skull on a string, on like a copper wire. And he goes over to the circle and interesting. He also reaches into another pocket and he pulls out a round stone, like a ball that's made out like a stone. He puts it in the center of the dirt circle, and I'm going to roll 3d6 for magic.
Very cool. Okay, so what effect are you trying to get out of this?
I am trying to detect how powerful this magical aura is around here.
Okay.
And I need to get what? Oh, we should.
It's 1 through 3 is bad. Let me just. I guess I should have set the difficulty on this. I think let's go with a 5 difficulty.
Okay, it's a 5.
Yeah.
I'll roll. I have a 6.
A 6. Okay, so you do succeed. If you had gotten multiple dice with the target number or above, then it would have been an exceptional success.
Yeah, it was just the one.
Okay, cool. So I think you find through the course of working your magic and trying to determine the lay of the land here, you feel a magical presence that is significant, not immense, and not widespread. It is focused, but it is significant.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think without an exceptional success, you can't pinpoint its location, but you can tell the presence of magic is here, and it feels like it is centered somewhere.
Interesting. So as Arnst performs the spell, he like circles the rat skull on the string around the rock, and the rock begins to move on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And as it begins to go in a circular pattern, he stops, and the rock continues, and it continues to go around the circle, and it begins to draw things in the circle, never leaving the circle on itself. As it goes around, it begins to make a larger sigil until finally he goes, stop. And the rock stops. And he reaches out and it comes back up. And he goes, all right, what I'm seeing here, my friend, is that there is a large magical presence here. It is not the entire town. It is not, how should I say this? It is not many people, but it is strong and it is focused in one person. But I am not sure who nor where. If I were to be a betting man, I'm not. And if I was wrong, which I am never wrong, I would say it is our brigand friend, that there is something wrong with him. But I cannot say for sure. And he puts the rock and the skull back in his pockets.
Well, I think the only thing to do now is to track down some of these women and to find from them what we can about the whereabouts of this figure here.
And that Gottram, that is your prerogative.
Indeed, it is. I have spoken to them already, of course, but...
Is there one you have not spoken to, maybe someone who will not hate us?
Oh,
like,
perhaps an old maid somewhere, I suppose, but all of the younger, more attractive women, of course, are already well aware of me. They became that way as soon as I walked in the village.
Arnst just sighs and continues to walk.
Yeah, at this point, Gottram has definitely already walked off. So yeah, Gottram is walking around and he's on the lookout for, preferably an older woman who is not scowling at him.
This is actually a good opportunity. Shall we go to the archetype cards to see who we find?
Ooh, yes, that sounds wonderful.
So I have these cards for those listeners at home and those watching. They're Carol Meiss's archetype cards. We use these in grad school for character development, for theater characters, but they kind of work like a tarot, but it's more union archetypes and such as that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw from this. I'm going to find out who we find. Oh, we find God.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the question is, who is the god of this town?
Who is the god of this town? I think
It's
it
female.
is...
Female.
Yeah, I think she is the baker.
Oh, it is the baker.
Yeah, she in the course, so there's just the one oven in this town. There are fires in each of the homes or whatever, but the one oven for doing baking stuff is located just in this one building. And so she is basically responsible for managing all of the farming and stuff that goes on, because the crops that come in are affected by, whether or not the oven is available, and people have to have all their work coordinated that way too. So she's actually really influential in this place.
Interesting. It's super interesting. I have another question for you.
Sure.
So each of these cards has a light and a shadow.
Okay.
Do we want to determine what she's going to be based on that as well?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to roll? Or
sure, yeah. Let me give it a simple yes or no.
Let's make it easy. Evens, it's good. Odds, it's bad.
Sounds good. I got a 5.
That's odds. Okay. Excellent. I'm gonna keep this, and I will play the baker when we go talk to her.
Okay, sounds good. So on the way, Gottram is, like making eyes and finger guns at all the women that he passes, all the younger women. And it's clear that he definitely didn't spend the night with anyone.
Mm.
He would never tell you that, but I will tell you that. And like Arnst was really just indulging him because Arnst knows that
Oh, yeah.
Gottram was in that shared room in the inn all night long, even if Arnst himself wasn't sleeping in that room the whole time either.
Oh, absolutely. I have a real quick question about the
Yeah.
two of us. How long have we been tellers together?
Ooh, together?
Hmm.
Okay, so I imagine myself being a fairly young guy, maybe 20, 22, something like that.
Hmm.
Um,
Arnst is a little older. He's probably like 26, 27.
okay, sounds good. I think Gottram has probably only recently come out of teller training,
Hmm.
but it was long enough ago that he's got some work under his belt. And obviously, the context so far is that you and I have worked together for a little while because we know each other a little bit.
Hmm.
So maybe we've worked together for in between 6 months and a year and a half, something
I
like
like
that.
that. I like that. Let's split the difference. We'll call it 10 months.
Okay, cool. Not quite a year.
Not quite a year. We're coming up on our year. A year and a day is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And like, well, okay, I like this. So, in teller society,
Hmm.
usually partnerships only last a year and a day.
Very good. Okay.
And if they last longer, something happens. But it can be good or bad. They don't know. So most tellers will end their partnership at the year. Um,
Okay. And like
some
there's always a reason if they
there's
go
always,
on longer.
there's always a reason if they go on longer. And again, if that happens, the author of the world will switch. Will Something will happen to these two.
Hmm.
Either they'll become like intertwined with fate, maybe they'll be cursed together, maybe they end up like now they have to go for another year and a day together even if they hate each other, like something like that.
Okay.
Like something is placed upon them if they go longer than a year and a day.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Okay, cool. So we're coming up on that time. We've been together for a while. The big moment is just a couple months away.
Hmm.
Um, but it's not here yet. However, Gottram is here right outside the windmill at this point. And I think I want to say that up above the door of the windmill, a lot of places have the upside down horseshoe or what
Hmm.
have you to catch the luck. This place has a much more elaborate display. There is a horseshoe that forms the center of it, but then there are also a lot of these like stones that are embedded into the wattle and daub exterior of the windmill that
Hmm.
are in this pattern that makes it look like gusts of wind coming off either side of the horseshoe.
Oh, it's very beautiful. Do you see this, Gottram? This is
I have no taste for beautiful things if they are not women with beautiful eyes.
Oh, look, there's a beautiful woman right there.
Ah, where?
Ah,
Oh, oh, this must be the baker woman.
yes, it is. And as we look over, we see coming around the bend, around the mill and bakery, is the baker, and she is the baker, capital B.
Hmm.
She is very large. She's probably like 6'6",
Whew,
6'7".
wow.
Um, she is muscular. She is wearing an apron and like work clothes. Um, it's and we're a little taken back as she comes around the corner. Um, and she has blonde hair that's in pigtails. Um, and she's got work gloves on, and she's being followed by a large dog. This large like wolfhound
Okay.
that's like right at her heels.
Yeah.
Um,
Immediately, Gottram's going to be like, "Ah, come here, boy, come here. Time for your scritches." Yes. Oh, ah, what a ghastly
uh,
beast.
and so which the woman looks over and goes, "I'm terribly sorry. Do not touch the dog in any way, shape, or form."
Oh, I will not anymore. Who wants to touch a mutt like that anyway?
And who are you?
I am Gottram of Paveglin. I am a teller here to help your humble village.
Tellers.
Yes, this is my companion Arnst of Wicklenstein.
Hello. Very nice. I'm terribly sorry. I thought if I'd known tellers were going to be coming to town, I would have come out and said hello.
Oh, worry not. We assumed this was a place of such meager means as to merit no carpet to be rolled out anyway.
Ah, in that you'd be correct, my friend. I am the baker, and welcome to Millhaven.
Millhaven, yes, yes. I wondered if this would be a place with a name. I am pleased to find that it is. Perhaps it is not as uncivilized as I thought.
Well, we shall find out now, shall we? Is there a particular reason the two of you have come to Millhaven?
Why, yes, of course. I hear that the ladies of the town are beleaguered and bereft of gentle hearts, of untroubled hearts and minds because of some dire brigand out in the forest.
Yes, we heard this that they were accosted on the road, madam, by what did they say, Gottram? Was it a large man, or was it many? I cannot remember.
I believe it was only one man, but they said he was entrancing, bewitching even.
Was he now? Now, I have not seen such a man myself, but if I had, I think I would have remembered it, if you don't mind me saying.
Well, do you get out of the village very often?
I'm very busy, as I am the baker, and the bread must be made. Bread must be sent to all corners of the realms, and that's my doing.
Yes, well, it is ambitious work, I am sure. I do not even see a cart or mule to pull it around here.
No, that's what I do as well.
Oh, you carry it yourself. How impressive, how impressive. You can see Gottram's getting a little red on his neck here.
She walks in and she leans in a little closer to him, looks him dead in the face, and goes, "Now, if there is something you need, you just let me know. But if there's nothing you need, and I have not heard of this brigand, I will definitely ask around about it, and I will take care of it, as this is my town. But if you have no further business here, my friends, I can give you a couple of rolls, maybe a loaf of bread, and you could be on your way."
Please, please, what we need from you is a lead to follow. We need to know where we should go for more information if you cannot give it to us yourself.
Ah,
So
well.
I want to try and persuade this woman to give us
Ooh.
like, some information that she's withheld so far. And I am going to, instead of using my fast talker perk, I think this is like in the purview of my skills. So
Okay.
it feels like a 3d6 roll to me.
I think so.
However, so actually, what challenge rating are you going to give this?
I'm going to give this, I'm sorry for your first roll, but I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I was going to use a quirk. I've been kind of disrespectful to her this whole time.
Yeah.
So I was going to use a quirk to increase the difficulty by 1, but if it's already maxed out, then I'm not going to.
I think it's maxed out. I think it's maxed out just because of who she is.
That's fine. And I honestly don't have anything to gain from invoking a quirk anyway, so mechanically speaking. So let's see how this turns out. I got a 4, so I missed it. I didn't roll. So if you roll all 1s, it's a critical failure. I only rolled 1, so I've got a 4, and that's a normal failure.
It's a normal failure. What was the question again?
The question, I'm trying to get a lead from this woman. I say, I want to find how we can get more information, if not from her.
She leans in a little closer, which you thought was close, turns out not to be close. And she is very close. She almost whispers into Gottram's ear, "Well, if I knew that, then why would I have to be telling some tellers? Aren't you supposed to be the ones to be finding leads?"
Yes, of course, but if you won't help us, then...
Now, I have a lot of work to do today. So, if you'd like, you may spend your time in my town until sundown. At sundown, if you are not out of my town, I will make sure you leave my town.
Wha- Of all the indignant nonsense
Isn't that
I've ever
right?
heard.
Isn't that right, Victor? And the dog raises its hackles.
Ah,
And we're, yes, ma'am, of course, we shall be out of your town by sundown. We shall conclude our business and do what we can. Let's
Arnst,
just go, Gottram.
you see
Gottram.
Gottram starts putting his hand on the hilt of his sword.
No, no, Gottram, no.
Well, you have not heard the last of us. When we come back here with the problem solved, you will rue the day that you talked down to Gottram of Pave Glen.
Yes, madam. And as you say, if we do fix this problem for you, we shall take the usual payment. And she goes, of course. And we turn around and we walk away.
All right. So as we walk away, Gottram is just fuming. And I imagine we're walking like nowhere in particular, but as we're walking down the path, Gottram is like, can you believe that woman? Oh, who does she think we are? Does she think we are common ruffians? Beggars at her doorstep?
I do not know. It was very strange, don't you think?
It was so strange. I've never been treated that way in all my time as a teller.
Well, you have not been a teller long, then. Here, my friend. And he reaches in, he pulls out a licorice root. Chew on this.
Licorice. Oh, licorice. What will I? So he puts it in his mouth and clearly, by his face, hates the taste of it. But he's
Yes.
like, yes, it is bracing. Mm.
Good, good. And he takes it back and he like takes out a bottle and puts it in the bottle and corks it. And then puts it back in there.
What have you done with your magic tricks, Arnst?
I've done nothing with my magic tricks. I've merely put the licorice in the bottle so you can have it later.
We will see about that.
Now, very quickly, between you and me, Eli, what is the usual price?
Yeah, I think it's stuff like a secret or the color of your hair or those sorts of things.
Oh,
Magical
interesting.
bargain type stuff.
Magical bargaining chips.
Yeah. And
okay.
maybe that's one reason why tellers aren't as welcome as you might think.
Because we take something magical from the town. Even though the town is not magical itself, we take something magical from it.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're capable of, I think it's a world where even if people can't access magic, they can still get wrapped up in magic in that way.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Interesting. So it's something mundane. We'll take something mundane from the town that is important, but they don't realize it's important until we take it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole we'll take 3 hairs from the baker's head, or we'll take the tooth of Victor. We'll take one of Victor's teeth, or we'll take like a stone from the mill, like something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or even like you said, like a secret. We'll take we want your secret. We want the secret of the town, or we say we'll take all the bread we can carry, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. We're capable of demanding kind of outrageous gifts in that way.
Oh, or like we want the best loaf of bread you've ever baked.
Mm-hmm.
From like the finest ingredients and everything like that, and we can take it and then use it later. I love that. That's the usual price. That is the usual price.
Mm-hmm.
If we get less, it's money.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And if it's like normally it's like the best loaf of bread you've ever baked or something. If it's less, then it's money, and if it's more, then it's like secrets or the color of your hair or your memories from the time you were 5 or something.
Yeah, we'll take those. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. I love that.
Very cool.
Okay. I gotta write that down real quick. I gotta write down so we know what those are.
Yeah, totally. So at this point, Gottram has kind of ended his fuming, and he's sort of like moving off with more purpose down the path, and maybe Arnst, as he's scribbling in his notebook, is having trouble keeping up with that sort of thing.
No, keep going. I'm just writing down. I'm
Yes,
just keeping my
don't
notes.
don't fall too far behind. We have to
I'm not going
find
to fall
someone
too
who
far
knows.
behind. I can see where you are going. You are the only one wearing black in this town. I can find you from a distance.
Oh, it's so hot. Why did it have to be so hot around here?
It is nearly summer. Why are you wearing black in summer?
You can see me kind of walking like bow-legged or something, and I'm pointedly not picking at the chafing that's going on my legs. I just want some relief from the sunlight around here. Where is the forest anyway? Perhaps we just go find him ourselves.
Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should try and walk on the roads and see if we can find who they are speaking of.
Yes.
Although I would like to at least speak to one of the girls, at least. Maybe the one that you had a little canoodle with last night. Perhaps we can speak to her. Point her out for me, will you?
Who can remember their faces the day after? It's so long. I'm looking
Well,
around.
she has blue eyes and she has red hair, and she is, well, she is a child, so that would not work. But
no. The blue eyes, that's the one. I know it. I know it for sure.
All right, we shall talk to the one with the blue eyes. Then.
Yes, but don't tell her about the night before. She probably does not remember. It was exhausting, taxing.
Of course.
You understand?
Of course, Gottram. I am, after all, I'm a gentleman.
Yes, of course. Yes, that's what you like to say anyway. We shall see if it is true. All right, fair maiden. Yes, hello again. How are you?
Hi.
Yes.
How are you?
Yes. No, very good. Thank you. I've recovered nicely. Tell me.
What?
No, never mind that. We come on a mission this time, a much less exciting mission than the time before, I suppose. But who knows? So, you have been plagued here in this village, yes?
I don't exactly know what you mean. What do you mean by plagued of something?
By a terrible power out in the forest, of course.
Oh. Are you talking about Hans?
That is his name, Arnst. We are closer to our target. Yes. Hans, what can you tell us of this Hans creature?
Well, Hans is, well, he grew up here in the town. We all know him. He is a big boy. He's about yay. She like stands on her tiptoes, about yay high.
That's taller than me.
Very broad-shouldered, and I don't know if you would call it accosting us, but he has been asking for things lately. Like he will come by and he'll ask for an apple, and I'll give him an apple. Or he asked Gretchen over there for a needle, and she gave him a needle, and just little things. Really, it's more annoying than anything.
Yes, truly, he sounds like an oaf and a bore.
I mean, a little bit, maybe. Is do you want to know where he is? Are you trying to find Hans?
Why on earth would we need to know where he is? Arnst, talk some sense into this woman.
I'm so sorry, Fräulein. We are merely looking for. If this is your Hans, he is large and accosting people, you say?
Yes, yeah, it's, but again, not really accosting. I'm sorry, who are you?
I'm terribly sorry. I am Arnst of Wicklenstein, and this is my associate Gottram of Parveglen. We are tellers. We are merely here to tell the tale of this town. We heard that the tale of this town deals with a oatish broof. A brutish oaf who is seeking, saying something.
Her head kind of quirks to the side, like she kind of can't believe the conversation that she's having right now.
Anyway, I do not mean to take up your time. You are obviously very busy carrying these empty pails. So this is what we're asking.
Yeah.
Is there a problem with this Hans? Do you find... Wait. I have a question for you real quick. And he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a string of gold. Mm-hmm. And he puts it forward. He says, "May I see your finger for a moment, ma'am?"
Oh, gold. What are you doing with this much gold?
No, no, no. It is not. It is not for buying. It is not for any of that. I just need your finger for a moment.
She kind of holds out her hand tentatively. You're not
Um,
going to marry me, are you?
well, no, I will not be marrying you. Marriage, a true marriage contract. None of this jumping over brooms or putting gold around fingers. The custom is there, but this is not a true marriage. I just merely need your ring finger. Yes. And he wraps the gold around her ring finger. I'm going to perform magic again.
Okay. And what are you trying to accomplish here with your
I
magic?
want to see if she's being ensorcelled,
Oh,
and she
okay.
can't tell us about it.
Yeah. Well, I think that this is a challenge 5.
Mm,
Uh, and yeah, so I think it's probably a 3d6 situation too.
excellent. I would like to use a perk.
Okay.
I'm going to use one of my karma points.
Okay.
I'm going to do magical coat of many pockets,
Mm.
and this is a magical bit of gold I have pulled out and pulled around her finger.
Very nice. Okay.
So do I get an extra dice from that, or?
So I think what we can do is use this perk to significantly impact the story.
Okay.
And I think what that means is that if we succeed, you get to decide the answer.
Okay. Let's do that.
Yeah. Cool.
You said it was a 5?
5, yeah.
I got a 5.
Okay, very good.
Okay. So he wraps it around her finger. And as he wraps it around her finger, she continues to talk. She continues to say things. And as she continues to say things, it becomes gibberish. It just becomes words that she's saying. She begins to just tell us about her day and say things. And we watch as the gold band that's on her finger begins to glow like a soft blue light. And we can see every time she speaks, a soft blue mist comes out. And we can see her eyes are like they were blue, but now they're blue.
Okay. Almost
And
like
he
a
goes,
glowing blue.
like almost like they're glowing blue. And we both kind of look at it for a little bit, and I go, "Thank you, man. That was enough." And he like reaches out, and he snaps, and the gold unwinds and comes back to him. So, ma'am, what is your name? I am so sorry.
Oh, Elsie.
Elsie. Elsie, I am sorry to say this, but you have been bewitched.
What? No. Shh.
No,
What?
no. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing. There are no witches. No witches here. No witches in this town. I have checked, and there are none.
Look, she's like looking around, terrified at this point. She's like, "Look, you cannot accuse me of that out here in the open. You need to."
I am not accusing you of witchcraft, madam. I am not accusing you at all. I am merely saying that you have been bewitched. That you yourself have been touched by magic.
No, you listen here. And she kind of raises her voice and she's like, I think that you don't belong in this town. I don't think you know what you're talking about. And if you're not careful, then, well, I'll tell the baker. And she starts to turn around to storm off.
Oh, will you? Will you? Are you compelled to speak to the baker at this point?
She she turns around and she like thumbs her chin at you.
Yes, of course. Fräulein, have a good day.
Ugh, and she like grabs her pails and saunters off toward the barn.
Yes, it must be terribly hard carrying them when they are completely empty.
If only you were good with women, Arnst.
I am not good with women. I am not good with men. I'm not good with women or animals. Books, my friend. Books are better than people.
Yes, generally bad with everything except your dusty books. Yes.
And a bit of the magic. I'm not a master. I'm not a wizard or a witch or anything. But anyway, I'm so sorry. I'm caught up.
Very, very well. So we have found some information. Did you learn anything from this ritual you conducted in secret?
Well, did you see her eyes? How they went blue? Did you see the way that she breathed blue as well?
Yes, I did. I thought I did anyway. I wondered if it was a trick of the light.
No trick of the light, my friend. She, as I said, has been bewitched. I probably should not have said that. It is fine. It is fine.
Do not feel bad about the tired superstitions of these country villages.
Well, remember, Gottram, superstitions, they always have a bit of truth.
Well, they've never bothered me.
All right. I will say this, my friend. She has been ensorcelled in some kind. Magic has been placed upon her. She cannot tell us if something is wrong because to her, nothing is wrong. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. I think. Perhaps.
Now, from my first spell, where I have learned there is a large magical presence inside the town, a single magical presence, and that the girl is ensorcelled, I will guess that most of the people are as well, but the largeness of this magical presence overshadows all of that. So,
That is fascinating. But what we need to do is track this magic down. Can you find it?
I might, but I am going to need your help with it.
Yes, yes. However you need help, I can provide it for you.
All right, my friend. Here's what I'm going to need you to do. We need to go to the highest point in the town, and I'm going to have you. And he reaches into his pockets, and he pulls out the femur of a wolf, and it's got a bunch of runes etched on it. And he goes, "All right, I'm going to have you take this to the top of the windmill, and when you get there, I want you to place this at the highest point of the town, which is the top of the windmill. Come to think of it, it will probably be the top of the blade of the windmill. It will not be continuous, but it will be at least for a little bit, and that's enough time for me to cast the spell. Do you think you can get it up there, my friend?"
Yes, of course I can. Are you kidding? It is no challenge at all for a man such as myself with my particular skills and powers.
Of course, my friend. Now, here, take it. Do not break it. Do not break it. Whatever you do, do not break it.
Ah, how could I? It is nonsense. Give it to me. I will take it now.
And Gottram,
What?
smile.
Don't tell me to smile. It is not manly to smile. This man telling me to smile, please. Let me smile for the ladies. And I say that as I'm like walking off. And basically, I mean, broad daylight. I don't care if the baker's watching or not. My plan is to just wait for the windmill to come around and to grab one of the wings or whatever of the windmill, one of the blades of the windmill, and just ride it all the way up and like work on putting the bone at the end of the thing as I'm going.
Excellent. I love that. I am gonna have you roll.
Sure.
It is gonna be. I'm gonna keep it at a. Keep it at a 4. Let's put it at a 4.
Okay, sounds good. And by the way, I fixed it in Roll20 so that you can move your tokens. So make sure you move one of your karma tokens to the spent section.
There we go.
Delightful. Okay, so I am going to use one of my perks, maybe? Nah. Maybe I will. I can use it after the roll, though, to reduce the challenge by 1. So let's roll and see how this goes. I think it's definitely a 3d6 situation. Trying to get a 4. Okay, that's fine. Please, it is barely even a challenge worth my notice. Hey, I got a 6. Okay.
Hey. Anything else other than that? Is it a critical success?
Just a 6. Oh, well, no, I got a 5 and a 6, so it is a critical success.
It's a critical one. Nice.
Very nice.
So since it's a critical, you tell me how this goes.
Yeah, so basically I grab onto this thing and the blade is wide enough that if I put my feet on the bottom, like if the blade is straight up and down, I can put my feet on the side and my hands on the other side, and then when it comes up, I'll be standing and ready to go.
That's beautiful. So I love that.
Yeah. So as it's turning around, I'm kind of riding this thing up like this, and I'm working on fixing the bone to the end of the blade. And I get up to the top, and I can see out all around. I can see the fields stretching to the horizon in one direction. I can see the fields going for a goodly direction, or for a goodly distance in the other direction. But then the forest is kind of crouching upon a hilltop here in the distance, and I know that's where we're eventually going to be headed, most likely. And I also notice that the ground is very far away. And so as we come back around, the blade comes back to the lowest point. I hop off. I give you a bow, a cocky kind of bow. And then I turn around and I look at my handiwork, and I notice that as the blade is up at the top, you really can't see which one has the bone on it.
Oh, no.
And so I wait until it comes around, and I notice, I'm like, yes, there is the bone. And so I wait for it to come around again, but this time I pull out my falchion. And when it comes around this third time, I slash the fabric at the end of the blade. And so it's flapping a little bit, and it's a clear marker of what we're going to be shooting for. And I imagine that Arnst actually did that gesture that you did too. It's kind of like, what was that? I'm like, well, how else are we to tell when it will be at the highest point?
I don't know, Gottram. Maybe you just tell me.
I don't know. I can't just watch it come around every time. This is so much easier.
Yeah, yes, it is. Thank you, Gottram. Thank you. All right. So, we wait for a moment. We will watch it, make sure that it gets around. I will need to perform a small ritual very quickly.
Yes, of course. Go ahead. Lay out your items or your artifacts or whatever. Although I get the sense now that you should perhaps maybe not do it in the plain sight of everyone here. They seem overly superstitious.
And Arnst looks around, and there's people looking at them. Like, there's just like, there's like a man like hoeing his garden who like looks up and then goes back to hoeing his garden. And there's like a couple of women like speaking to each other over a fence, and then they see them and they like go back to talking to each other. They go, I suppose you're right. Well, it will not be as strong, but I can just use my hands this time. And he rolls up his sleeves a little bit, and I'm going to cast another spell.
All right.
It is going to be, this is a spell that I am going to seek out. Like, the first spell was to find that if there was magic. Now that we've determined what the magic is doing, we need to find where it is. So it's going to locate where that strong bit of magic is.
Sure. Okay. That sounds good. I'm going to say that this is, because you've had some success already, I think that this goes from being a 5 difficulty challenge down to being a 4 difficulty challenge. This is sort of the icing on the cake.
All right. Let us roll this then. And just because it's important, I'm going to use a perk.
Okay. Sure. You can wait until after the roll if you want to.
Oh, that's right. I can. Oh, I got a 6 and a 4.
Okay, very nice. So you succeed with a critical. So what is this magic that you're working, and how does it show us where to go?
Oh, okay. So what happens is Ernst watches the windmill, and like the camera's behind Ernst. It's a really great artistic shot that's like up the hill. So we see Ernst standing there with the windmill going and that flapping of it as it goes around every single time. And as we sit there, we watch Ernst roll up his sleeves, and he touches places on his fingers, on different sigils on his hands, and they begin to slightly glow. And he just moves it in synchronization with the windmill.
Cool.
And at the top of the windmill, we see that bone begin to glow. And as it begins to glow, eventually looks like it gets red hot, and it bursts into a bunch of gold powder that goes up into the air. And Ernst goes, all right, now we watch it go, and there it goes. And it zooms off like a bunch of angry flies or bees heading off to wherever this source of magic is.
Very cool. All right. I love that. And Gottram immediately catches this, and he's like, do we follow it?
We follow it. Yes, yes. So sorry, everyone. It is merely bees. We shall take care of it. We are tellers. Do not worry.
Yes, yes, of course, of course. Everyone go back to your business. And then Gottram is going to just like jog off after it. As the sweat really starts to beat up on his brow, you can tell he's like getting more and more uncomfortable in all this black leather.
You do not need the collar to go up to your chin, my friend.
The collar is fetching. It attracts the ladies.
It is. All right, continue. Let us run. Let us run. Here we go.
Yes. So he takes off running immediately. And are we headed toward the forest, or what's up?
Oh yes, we are headed towards the forest.
Cool.
Obviously on that hill where you saw the forest, that is where we're headed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Take us there.
We rush out of the town. We can see as we run underneath the camera looks out over Millhaven, and we see the sun is past its zenith at this point. So we only have a few more hours until sunset to get this done. But just outside of town and outside of a town, there's a signpost that still says Millhaven on it. We run past that, and there's a path that leads up this hill, and sparse trees begin to hit as we keep running. And as we run, the trees get thicker and thicker and thicker, and then we are in a forest. It is not a dark, dangerous-looking forest, but it is a forest nonetheless.
Very cool. All right. Yeah, so we get there, and Gottram immediately like has his falchion out in his hands, and he's like, now the work begins.
Yes, yes. Do you see on that tree there, there's a bit of gold. We will go past that. It is leading us to it.
Yes, I see it. Okay, we will follow it. We will follow it here. Another one. There, you see? It is on a rock with some moss, but there is gold right on top of the moss.
No, there's good eyes, my friend. Yes, I see it. Now, we do not know what is in this forest. We do not know what's going on. So keep your eyes peeled and be careful as much as we can, all right?
Yes, I know the way. We do not need to worry. So I want to make a roll to navigate through here, but it's really not my specialty.
Okay.
So I think I would maybe roll 2 or even 1 die for this. What do you... I think I want to push for 1 roll anyway. 1 die anyway.
Go for 1. Why not?
Okay, cool. So what kind of difficulty are we talking about here?
Here's the thing. It's in the woods. Mm-hmm. It is gold, like painted on things as it went through, and it's leaving a trail.
Sure.
So we have an obvious trail, but let us call it a 3.
3. Okay, cool. I'm going to use a quirk, enthusiastically hyper-masculine, because I know that I know where to go, and I don't need to ask no stupid bees for directions. And so I'm going to increase the difficulty to 4.
Okay, nice.
And I would receive 1 karma back, but I haven't actually spent 1 yet, so this is just me making my life harder. Let's see how this goes.
It's us exercising the game at this point.
Yeah. You know what, though? I did get a 6. So.
Oh, really? Wow. Nice. So, real quick, I'll let you describe it. But Arnst is like, all right, sure. No, please follow the magic trail that I have been studying most of my life to find. Go ahead. And
you studied to find this? It is plain as day. Look, gold bee, gold bee, gold bee, and here we are. Look, it is a waterfall of some kind. And well, this doesn't seem like a place where a man would set up lodgings.
No, it does not.
Strange.
Does not look like it would be. But do you remember that pig?
The pig?
Do you remember the pig? The pig back in Hottelstein.
Hottelstein. Don't remind me of Hottelstein. I remember the pig now. You should have told me the pig and the rooster. Then I would have...
I am so sorry. The pig and the rooster, and how they were actually people turned into a pig and a rooster. They were condemned criminals that were turned into to get away.
Yes.
Well, and living out in the woods. So here we are, and we do not know. There may be someone about. So keep your eyes open, my friend.
Yes. Very well. So I think a little bit of investigation happens on Gottram's part, but then eventually he realizes he's got a falchion in his hand, and so he just kind of like cups his hands together, and he's like, "Hans, Here, piggy, piggy.
No. What?
Hans.
Oh, this is why. This is why, Gottram, why I work mostly with books. You understand that, right?
Well, it is no trouble. I think I heard something in the brush over here. I will go investigate.
All right, I shall stay here,
Very well.
and I will
very
look
well.
around.
Very well, very well. So, Gottram kind of like tramps off into the brush, and I think that no sooner does Gottram, like disappear, his black leathers just like get swallowed by the bush, when all of a sudden you hear this whistling coming from the other way. And then, sure enough, this tall, broad-shouldered, handsomely cut face of a man walks out into the clearing, and he's got a satchel slung over his shoulder.
Arnst looks and goes, "Oh, hello, my friend."
Ugh, what are you doing here?
Oh, well, I am merely a traveler. I was passing through just to get some water. That is all. You do not mind? You do not own this spring, do you?
No, guess I don't.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I have given you my name. Now you are to give me yours. It is as courtesy demands.
Courtesy.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you can call me Hans.
Ah, it is a pleasure to meet you, Hans. As I said, I am Ernst. So, and Ernst goes over and he like cups his hands and he pulls up some water and he thinks better of it and just kind of washes his hands in it and goes, "So, what brings you out here, my friend?"
Well, I live not far off.
Really?
Yeah.
So, beyond the waterfall then? Here in the woods, all alone?
Something like that. Yeah. Look, I ain't never seen you before. You're not from Millhaven.
No, I am not, my friend. As I said, I am merely a traveler, passing through. I was thirsty.
Thirsty. Yeah.
Yes. So, my good friend, Hans, are you working here in Millhaven? Do you carry sacks of bread for the baker?
No, I'm a bit of an entrepreneur.
Oh, are you now?
Yeah. I make my own way.
Very resourceful of you, my friend.
Bit of a collector, you might say.
Oh, I do love collections.
Yeah.
What do you collect, my friend?
Oh, all kinds of things. Knickknacks, odds and ends, that sort of thing.
Paddy wax, give a dog a bone.
Yeah.
Oh, what have you got? What do you? I'm very interested. How about this? You show me something interesting from your bag, and I will show you something interesting from mine.
Trade-off, huh?
We will trade. Yes.
Tell you what. You give me something interesting from your bag, and I'll give you something interesting from mine.
Even better, my friend.
Very well. Very well. And I think I want to compel you in this moment.
Ooh, I like it.
We have established a twist in this tale.
We have.
A secret one. And I think you said earlier that you do not get along well with men or women or dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this twist might be affecting you.
Ooh, yeah. I like it. I like it a lot.
So he looks at you again, and he's like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. I seem to have been a little too mistrustful around you.
It is all right. I'm a stranger
Yeah.
in your home, so I understand.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, please make yourself comfortable, I guess, here on this rock. And, yeah, well, let's see what you got here in this here bag of yours, huh?
Of course, I will make myself comfortable. I seem to be tired all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, that happens out here in the forest. You walk for a while and you just don't realize how long you've been out here.
Yes. Well, so Shall we make a game out of this?
A game? Well, sure. Tell me the rules, and I'll tell you if I want to play.
So, I shall reach into mine, and I will pull out something. I will put it behind my back. I will then reach into and grab a second thing and put that behind my back. You shall do the same. And then we shall both choose right or left.
That's cute. All right. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Excellent. So, shall we?
Yeah. Here, let me get something out of my bag here. And he kind of like turns his back to where his broad shoulders are blocking your view of what he's pulling out of his bag. And he pulls some items out, holds them behind his back.
And I have mine as well, my friend. So, on the count of 3, we shall say which side we'd like, left or right.
All right.
1, 2, 3. Right.
Left.
All right. All right.
All right. You first. You show me what you got.
Left. And he takes it around this side, and he opens his hand, and it's a handful of gold coins.
Oh. My. You're going to give me that whole handful of gold coins, are you?
I might not. We shall see what you have in exchange.
All right. Well, here I got something I think you'll like a whole lot. He opens up his hand, and there are 2 long iron nails that have been twisted to form a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And the top, where they should be squared away, is kind of bent around to where it faces each other, kind of like the medical symbol, you know?
Oh, like a
Asclepius or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he holds it up, and he's like, "Pretty little thing, ain't it?"
That is very pretty.
Yeah.
And very well, I accept that trade.
All right. Yeah, well, here's the nails. You just give me those coins now.
And he reaches in and he goes, "Oh, I dropped them. I'm so sorry." Please.
It's no problem. He's going to bend down and like pick them up off the ground.
To which Arnst is having a hard time because he's trying really hard to make this stall until Gottram gets back.
Ah, okay.
But he's having a hard time because he, like, obviously Hans wants to move this through, and he's like, I am compelled to make this go faster.
Right.
And I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I have a thought about where Gottram will make his entrance, but
Excellent.
I think so. Hans picks up these coins and counts through them. Quite a nice haul, and puts them into his satchel. And then he's like, "Hey, darling, why don't you give me what's in your other hand too, huh?" And so what I would like this to be is a roll for you to try and like exert your mental willpower to resist this thing.
I think that's great. I think that's a great idea. So this is a 3d6 for me because this is part of my skill set.
It's crafty for sure, but I'm going to say that this is a 6 difficulty because
he's compelling me.
Yeah, you're being magically compelled in this situation.
Didn't work.
Okay, cool. So I think then you lose some resolve. You lose. What was your result?
It was a 5, a 1, and a 1.
Okay. I'm going to remind myself the exact wording on rolling nasty ones. If the player rolls 1 on all of their dice, the result is a critical failure. Okay, so you just had a simple failure then.
It was a simple failure.
Yeah.
So, but
I think you are going to have to lose 1 resolve then. Yeah, you're sort of like drawn into the web of this guy's bewitchment.
Absolutely, and in doing so, Arnst, like, everything kind of melts away when he says, "I think you're going to give that to me." Mm-hmm. And I can only see his face and nothing else exists anywhere else. And it's like that spiral from like Aladdin, you know how the Sultan is being, and he's like,
"Oh, that's very nice."
"No, I shall give you what I have." And he reaches out and there's nothing
in his hand.
in his hand, in his right hand.
Oh. So I think Hans looks down in confusion just at the moment when Gottram emerges back out into the clearing. So Gottram is like, turns out it was a squirrel. What a fool I was for thinking it was some giant. Oh, well, wouldn't you know, a giant, robust, broad-shouldered man. You
Uh,
must be Hans.
why, yes. Yes, I am. Now, I see that there's two little pretties here in this here wood. My friend Ernst here was just apparently cheating me out of a deal we just had, but I think you'll do just nicely as well.
Arnst, will you stand for this? This man insulting you in front of your very face?
Ernst, you're fine with that, aren't you? That I am. I am very fine with this. You, Hans, anything you like, I shall give you. And Hans goes, you see? Now, do you know this fella, Ernst? Yes, I do. That is my friend Gottram. He is a teller like myself. And Hans like stiffens and goes, you're tellers.
Yes, we are. Yes, indeed. And we have heard there is something amiss in these woods.
Oh, there is. But I do apologize, but I don't think either of you is gonna have to bother with that anymore. So, you, whatever your name is, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
You think you can compel me to just do what you want?
Yes.
Oh,
What I'm gonna have you do is I'm gonna have you turn around. And then you're gonna walk about 10 feet. And at that 10-foot mark, there's a small cliff. And you're gonna jump right head first off of it.
it is such an idea. I cannot imagine why I would. But you can see Gottram's feet are slowly sort of moving of their own accord. And I think I've got a roll on this, but.
I think you got to roll. Yeah.
So I have no archetype that fits with this, but my concept is that I am a cunning swordsman.
Yes.
So maybe some element of that would give me 2d6 on this roll.
Oh yeah, I think it would. As a cunning swordsman, you are proficient in reading a person's movement and like their intention. By doing that, I think you, as a cunning swordsman, are able to maybe see what's happening here, and maybe as a cunning swordsman, you know that maybe a bit of physical pain will bring you back into this fight that you're having right now. So maybe if you can run your finger along your blade and snap yourself out of it.
Very cool. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So what kind of difficulty are we talking about for this?
Oh man, I'm actually gonna have it be a 6 because he's compelling you.
Makes good sense. So I will roll, but I'm probably going to invoke a karma to lower that difficulty.
Okay. Arnst, the karma is that Arnst looks over and goes, looks at Gottram and says, Gottram, pain will get you out of it. Don't say another word.
Okay. Well, I got a 4, and I am going to go ahead and use the karma that I spent. Well, actually, no. I can choose to do it after the roll. And even if I lower the difficulty by 1, I still don't actually make it.
Yeah.
So, man, I wonder. Yeah, I guess I just got to deal with the consequence then. So I have my sword out in my hand, but I just keep walking toward this cliff.
Yeah. So, oh man, what happens? You jump.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna lose the resolve from jumping, maybe, or
yeah. But the thing is, that's pain.
Yeah. Well, and also I think when I'm like in the air here, that might be another moment for me to realize what's going on and to snap out of it. And then I've got good reflexes. I'm agile, so I could do a roll to try and like keep from harming myself when I fall.
Yeah, instead of breaking your neck, you hit really hard, but you're not going to die from it.
Sure. So let me do another roll for that. This would be a 3d6 roll. What kind of cliff are we talking about here? Exactly how challenging would it be to fall off this
Oh,
cliff and not get
it's
hurt?
not very high. It's only like a 10-foot cliff. Like
Okay.
it's not, if you were to fall off of it, you wouldn't die. But if you go head first off of it with the intent of killing yourself, then
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I did jump off, not exactly head first, but kind of just falling, so it was almost like a belly flop situation. But as soon as I can feel that stomach lurching falling sensation, right, I'm going to roll. But what is my challenge rating for this?
I'm actually gonna put this at a 4.
A 4? Okay. So I'm going to roll. I got a 4. Yeah, so I managed to pull out of this one. I land on the ground. I'm in mid-fall, and I realize what's happening, so I actually just lean even further into it, and when I land, I do a roll out onto the ground. But I imagine it's kind of like a roll that turns into a flop to dissipate the rest of the energy. So it sounds like a really heavy thud down at the bottom of the cliff.
From back there, Arnst is like, no, and Hans is like, don't worry about it. Everything is fine.
Yes, Arnst. Yes, nothing to worry about at all. Tell you what, you bring that fancy bag of yours and you just follow me.
Of course, my friend. And he goes over. He doesn't have a bag. He goes over to the other bag. He goes over to Hans's bag and he picks it up over his shoulder.
Arnst or Hans notices this and he's like, no, I'll take my bag. Thank you for handing it to me.
Of course.
I'm talking about wherever you pulled that gold coin out of.
Oh, well, I don't have a bag, but you can have my coat. And he like begins to take off the coat to give it to him.
Yeah. Hans is like, oh, you got this coat with all kinds of goodies inside, do you? Well,
something like that, yes.
Let me just see here. I think it might be a mite small for me, but he reaches into one of the coat pockets and he pulls out a rabbit's foot. And he's like, well, if it works, it works. Puts it back in the pocket. Then he looks in the pocket, kind of smiles, and tosses the coat over his shoulder as well. Come on now, Arnst. Don't dawdle. We gotta get you home and cleaned up.
All right then, my friend. Lead the way.
Yes. Quite so. Let's get out of here. And so he starts to leave. Are you feeling like conflicted at all, or you think you're
absolutely conflicted? He took my coat.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think go ahead and give me a roll to try and like break the ensorcelment here. This is a really personal thing that was taken from you. It's one of your perks. So I think this is going to be a 4 for sure.
Also, like to Arnst's knowledge, Gottram is dead. So not only that, but he killed my partner.
Yeah, for sure.
And we have rules. I have got 2 6s.
Hey, that's a phenomenal success. So I think here's the deal. I was thinking that we make Hans a effort connected type of bad guy. So I'm going to say that there are 3 tokens that we have to clear in order to defeat Hans.
Excellent.
And because of your exceptional success, the strength with which you break free gets rid of one of those tokens.
Nice. So as he turns around, Hans is walking. Arnst is standing there beginning to walk next to him, and he happens to see out of the corner of his eye there's like a sharp rock. And Arnst puts his hand down and jams it right into the rock.
Oh, okay.
And hurts himself, but he like closes his fist and keeps walking as if nothing has happened.
Okay, cool. And that has, I think, made you immune to Hans's suggestion, which is why we got rid of one of his effort tokens.
Yeah.
So he can no longer compel you for any reason. Gottram is a different story. But Hans does lead you to a cottage that is not far from the waterfall. It's actually like up the hill and sort of near the brook that turns into this waterfall.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a small cottage, thatched roof, sort of shaded by all of the trees overhead, and there's a thin wisp of smoke coming out of the chimney. Just a simple door, a single window, and yeah, Hans kind of walks up to it, opens the door. After you, Arnst. I insist.
Arnst takes one step inside, turns around, and oh no, not yet, not yet. He takes one step inside, turns around, waits for Hans to take one step inside. Hans
Yeah.
closes the door, and Arnst like puts his hands together and goes, "So, what shall we do?"
Well, I think you can set to work emptying all the pockets on this here jacket, and you can see a pile of stuff over there. You just put it there, and we'll sort it out later. How's that sound?
That sounds like I'm not going to fucking do that.
What?
And he claps his hands, and the sound wave from his hands does a ranged magical attack.
Very cool. Okay, sounds good. So let's see here. This is going to be something. You're crafty. You're an amateur wizard. I think because you're an amateur wizard and not some sort of like really amazing one, it's a 3d6 situation, but we're talking about a 5 difficulty.
Okay.
It's not
Sounds great to me.
particularly easy for you. So let's see how this goes.
Oh, I dropped 2 dice. I'll roll it again.
Okay.
I got a 5.
A 5. Okay, so you do succeed. Yeah, so I think, the sound wave slams into Hans, and he doesn't get knocked off his feet exactly, but he staggers backwards and he hits his head on the wall at the back of the cottage. And I think that's enough to move another token. And look at that, we won Captain Marvel bingo. We spelled Kree.
Woo!
I just noticed that. I'm gonna move this over
Yeah,
here so
I was like, oh, okay. That's great.
Cool. So yeah, Hans gets knocked back to the wall, and he's like, "Hey, now you see here." And he comes forward, and he's like, he's got his fists balled up, but he's like, "I told you to obey me."
And Ernst just goes, "And I said I was not going to fucking do that. So the question is," and he like puts his own like fists up. "You want to fight now, or are you going to come quietly?"
Come quietly. What are you, you scrawny little wimp? Look at you. I could knock you through this wall, no problem. He actually winds up to do it. But at this point, I think the buckler flies through the window.
Oh, cool.
Toward Hans. It might not hit him, but this is going to be like a ranged attack. And so one of the things that we had mentioned when we were going over the rules is that like typically agile characters are good at ranged attacks. But there is a note that says if your favored combat style is sort of an exception to the way the trait is written, then you can change that. And since I'm a swordsman, I think that ranged attacks are not my forte. So this would be not a 3d6 situation for me, but because I'm agile, I think it would still be like a 2d6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And what kind of challenge are we dealing with here?
I'm gonna say that I'm actually gonna say it's not that hard because we'll say it's a 4 because it's a small window, and
Okay.
it's kind of a curved shot you got to do.
Sure. Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm going to roll here to try and hit Hans in the face. And I got a 3. But what can I do? I have perks. I'm a master of the falchion and buckler. So even though I'm not used to throwing it, I'm still really used to having its weight, and that helps me to judge the power that I need to put behind this. So I'm going to spend one of my karma tokens and lower the difficulty from 4 to 3, and that way I do succeed.
Nice. So there's this bong as it like crashes through the window and smacks Hans in the face.
Yeah.
And as he does that, Ernst ducks underneath and like muscles his way, like shoulders his way outside the door, out into the sunshine. And he turns around and he sees like, "Gottram, you are alive!"
Yes, yes, come on, quickly, quickly. I've got to go in and get my buckler.
No, no, no. Do not go inside. Wait for him to come out to us. Oh, hold on.
Yes, well thought, well thought. Yeah, here we go. Quick, one side of the door. I'll get on the other one.
Quick. And we like jump to the other two sides of the door.
Yeah.
Like with Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah.
And I imagine Hans like he like a bull in a china shop, like a big boar, like bursts his way out, like right past us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Gottram is going to he wants to try and time it. This is sort of a reflexes thing, where as soon as the door bursts open, Gottram sticks his foot out so that Hans trips forward like onto his face.
That's great. Let's have you roll for that actually. Let's see if that see if it actually happens.
Cool. So it is like a nimble reflexes kind of thing.
It's a nimble reflexes type of thing. I'm gonna say it's pretty simple. It's like a 3.
Okay. One point though, we did say that a roll was 3 earlier, but rules is written, it's from 4 to 6.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's
That's
4
fine.
to 6.
Okay.
So we'll say it's 4.
Okay. Cool. So let's see how this goes. I got a 4 and a 5, so that's a critical success.
Critical success.
Yeah. I think maybe that's the last effort token that we need to defeat Hans.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see here. I trip Hans to the ground, and he like slams, boom, and he doesn't move, and I'm like, did I kill him?
Did you kill him?
Am I that powerful? And then I look down, and I can see that like his massive torso is very slowly breathing. And like his nose is bloodied, so he's knocked out, but he's not quite dead. And I'm like, well, quite a boon. Now,
Like so.
Arnst, tell me, what do you notice about this figure?
Well, he's very large. He has the blonde hair.
Yes.
And he looks a lot like our friend the baker.
You are right. You are right. Maybe there is more to this adventure than we thought.
I should think so. And if you don't mind, I'm going to get my coat. And he like grabs the coat. He like has to pull it out from underneath Hans.
Of course, of course.
And he pulls it out and he puts it back on. He goes, "You never touch my coat ever again."
While you're going to get the coat and like talking to Hans, his unconscious form, Gottram is going to go inside and rummage around and find some rope.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to basically hog tie Hans.
Nice. As he hog ties Hans, Arnst is going to he takes the rope, and so like as he goes to tie them, he like frays the end of it and does another knot at the end of each of them, and he's like, "It is magic. He will not be able to break them as easily. He seems to be a big boy." So it's just one of those, he's extra tied.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. And then Gottram, while Arnst is doing this like enchanting stuff, Gottram kind of looks back inside and he's like, "Arnst, a lot of this stuff is junk, but there are some valuables in here as well. I see a pile of coins. I see some other objects that might fetch a price or be appreciated back in town."
We should probably take it.
Oh, and look at this, a wonderful little wheelbarrow. Ah, yes.
Well, let us do this. Shall we put everything in the wheelbarrow and we will take it back to town, and we will see what our friend the baker has to say.
Yes, I like it. I like it. All right, pile stuff into the wheelbarrow, and then we will throw Hans on top of it, and we will prove to one and all that he is the true culprit here.
That sounds good to me. Although these coins are mine, and he takes the 5 coins that he had and he puts them back in his pocket.
Yours for now, perhaps, but wait until the next time we try gambling. Or do you remember the last time well enough not to attempt it again?
Oh, I do remember the last time. That's why I'm not wearing my ring. And let us go. Let us go. Let us go.
Very well. So as Gottram is piling stuff onto the wheelbarrow, he notices that there's one thing in particular that catches his eye. It is a bright red feathered cap with a wide brim.
Cool.
And so he comes back out and he's wearing this thing. He's like, I think I might like this hat.
It is a fetching hat on you, my friend. You may wear it. Not that you need my permission or anything, but you may wear it.
I wish it came in black. but
Oh, and it changes to black.
actually, no, I don't want it to actually change.
Okay.
Yeah. He kind of takes it out and he looks at it again and he's like, well, perhaps one item of color will not matter on my ensemble.
Well, they say that a bit of splash of color is becoming upon a man.
Oh yes, do you think it will help me with the women?
Oh, Gottram, I don't think anyone can help you with the ladies.
You brigand, get back here! And so, like, as Gottram is like trying to wheel the wheelbarrow, he's also trying to like run into your heels with it.
Hey, stop it! Hey,
no, you get back here! You must answer for this insult.
I will not answer this insult. You know this is the truth.
And so I imagine we keep bickering all the way back to the village.
Perfect.
The whole time, like, Hans is being bounced on this wheelbarrow as it goes over every route.
Smacks his head every time he goes over something. Yeah, it's perfect. So it is sundown, and as we roll into town.
Yes.
And I feel like we roll right up to the mill. Mm-hmm. And the bakery, and the whole town sees us carting Hans and all these things, and people are like, "Hey, that's my flower pot. Is that my apron?" Like, mm-hmm. And they all follow us all the way up to the windmill.
Okay, yeah, and people are like, looking. My grandma wove that shawl for me. What is it doing in the wheelbarrow? And then people are like scratching their heads. When did I lose that? I don't even remember. And so like a decent crowd, maybe, 20 or 30 of the 40 people in the village have gathered outside the miller's bakery at this point.
Yeah, and so they're all gathered out there. And as they are gathered out there, the baker comes out. Mm-hmm. Now, what is going on here?
Well, Miss Baker, it seems you have been pulling a fast one over the entire village.
Everybody knows that I don't do anything terribly fast, my friend. I am slow and methodical. Everything is in its place, doing what it's supposed to be doing. Now, you have come to my town, and you have upset the status quo. My question was again, what is going on here?
Well, people of Millhaven, fear not, we have helped you. We come to your aid. Behold, Hans, the son of the baker, who has been stealing from all of you this whole time.
Everybody's like, "Oh, what? I didn't know she had a son." Like back and forth. Mm-hmm. It is true, my friends. It is true. Your baker, she has. I'm not entirely sure what her plan was, but her son Hans seems to have a peculiar ability that he is able to make you do what you want, what he wants you to do. And
yes,
if
but fear not, everyone, we have gagged him. He will not be speaking even after he regains consciousness.
True. So I do not think the question is, Miss Baker, what are we doing? It is, what are you doing?
Well, I think that you all just better get up on out of here before this village unites against you. And then a few of the villagers are like mumbling, like, "Yeah, foreigners, strangers." And then a couple of them are like, "Oh, what? But the stuff. I remember misplacing that, but I don't remember why." And so like there's some dissent in the crowd right now.
Yeah. So the question then becomes, how do we get these people on our side?
Yeah. I'm a fast talker. I can definitely get my silver tongue on the situation.
I say do that. I say...
Okay. Sounds good. Let me give this a try then. So it's a 3d6 thing because it's my forte.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of difficulty are we talking about? Convincing the crowd?
Oh man, I'm gonna say it's a town divided. I'm gonna say it's a 6.
Okay, cool. Well, let's see how this goes. Oh god. Okay, almost dropped my dice. I got a 6 and a 5 and a 1.
Woo! Nice.
Right. So I step up and I'm like, "People of Millhaven, do not listen to this woman. She has no idea how she has hurt all of you. Look, this place is so small that the inn has only one bedroom. It is
That's right.
audacious. If you
That's
had
right.
been to the city of Clock Tower, you would not believe how many inns there are, with multiple floors, each with private rooms. But here, you have nothing at all, except for each other and the things that you provide for each other. However, Hans and his mother, the baker, have stolen these things from you. They have robbed from you everything that matters. Your shawl, your nails that you needed. All of these things have been taken from you by these two.
Well, I'm not entirely sure what. No. She did. Look. That's my grandmother's shawl. I thought I lost that a long time ago, but there it is, right there. She's been stealing from us this entire time. Now, listen to me, everybody. I think we should just calm down and talk about this like sensible folk. No.
At this point, Gottram is going to look over to Arnst, and he's like, "Arnst, it is not common, but punishment can be payment as well."
Yes, it can. I was hoping to get something nice from this town, but I think that can be it.
What
So,
punishment do we extract from them?
well,
I know what we take from Hans. His voice can affect anyone. It affected you and me even. I think we take from Hans his very voice.
I think that is a good idea. We take that from him, but the baker, she is the one who started all this. You can see it in her eyes, and he snaps. And I want to try to cast a truth spell on her.
Oh, okay.
To have her tell the truth.
Yeah, I think she's got a lot riding on this, so this is going to be a very difficult thing as well. I think it's going to be a 6.
Okay. I'm going to do it after I roll. A 6 and a 5.
All right, so you succeed.
I succeed. And so what it is
or you could spend that perk that you were thinking about doing, and then you would lower the difficulty to a 5, which means you would get a critical success.
Oh, let's do it. I'm going to do that.
Okay.
So I'm going to use the perk, and the perk is Magical Coat of Many Pockets. And so what he does is he reaches into his pocket. He pulls out what's a creature that's known for truth?
An elephant never forgets.
An elephant. Okay. So he pulls out a bottle with like, no, it's just a bottle full of elephant dung. He pulls out a bottle full of elephant dung. He like opens it and blows it, and the smell of it like goes over to her, and she like steps back and she's like, I don't. And he's like, now tell us, Miss Baker, were you not part of this the entire time? My son Hans was cursed at a very young age. Anybody he thought was attractive, he could make them do what he wants. So I cultivated that, and I used it to control all of you. I'm not even sorry. And
man, the truth hurts.
And everyone's like, oh. He goes, there you have it, my friends. The baker, she was in charge of this the entire time. So the question is, what do we get from the baker as well? Not from us. We are but tellers of the tale, and we shall take this tale and we shall spread it to the other towns about what it is. But the rest of this story is up to you to decide. She is yours to take and do with what you will. But you, Hans, we shall take your voice.
And Hans
it is fair payment. What is usually we would take, we cannot take the best of, but we will take something more. So the question is, every teller can do this.
Mm-hmm.
We can take something that is either the usual, the more, or the less.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, how do we as tellers take this?
Yeah. So first of all, I think this is clearly a more situation. We take more than usual, and I think you've been pulling a lot of bottles and vials and stuff out of your coat, so I don't think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a book. Each of us have like a chapbook that we carry with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Gottram opens his book and he's flipping through pages, and we can see illumination on each page.
Mm-hmm.
Illumination in just a few words, maybe a dozen words per page or something. And he turns to a blank page and he says, Hans, you are not clever, and so you have suffered the consequences. You have been punished for working against the good of your village, and your punishment is that we shall write your tale with your own voice. And I snap my fingers, and you can see this sort of golden light coming out of Hans's mouth, sort of moving around the gag that's around his mouth. And it moves through the air and settles on the page and turns into a new illumination of a waterfall and a cottage. And there's a big shouldered guy half leaning out of the door who's like gesturing for a young maiden to come toward the cottage. Mm. And then the words speak of, the details of what happened, or the broad strokes of what happened.
Yeah.
And then, Gottram goes over, he takes the gag off of Hans, and Hans is like clearly trying to speak and just no sound, not even any breathing sounds are coming out. And
now, good people of Millhaven, we do not dispense justice, civil justice. That is not our job. If you want that, you may find a lawkeeper or someone as such, maybe a passing knight who can pass judgment upon these two. Our job is done. So, do with them as you will.
Yes, and I think celebrations are in order while you wait for the lawmaker. Shall we open a cask of ale, perhaps, from the fields harvest?
Yeah, I think we should probably do that. Yeah, let's go. We should probably kill that fatted calf, too. Oh, yeah, let's do that. Let's have a good party. And they all start to move.
Gottram, claps Arnst around the shoulders just a little too hard and, pulls him in tight. And he's like, it is time to celebrate the good work of the tellers.
Yes, but do not forget, my friend, our other job is to also tell the tales. So you will tell one, and then I will tell one. All right?
Fine.
Do you have a preference?
I'm not telling the tale of the pig and the rooster again.
No. I will tell that one. That is relatively new. I shall do that one. They have probably not heard it.
Yes, of course. So I think as we're starting to move off to the party, the camera sort of stays where we were, and we can see that some of the villagers take the baker and Hans off to a cottage or some spot where they can be held. I don't think this village would have stocks or something.
No, not at all.
But maybe a wicker cage that they can keep them in or something that's usually used for chickens or something. So it's really cramped. And we sort of move out, and as the sun is setting over this village, we get a little further away, and we can see the light starting to tinkle on in the cottages, but definitely in the in-house as well. And we start to go up, and we can see the landscape. And what happens then?
As we back off the landscape, as we see the town of Millhaven, we can see out into the distance. We see, again, those castles, those mountains, those deep forests, those rivers, those lakes, those valleys. They're everywhere. And each one of them is a realm, and each one of them holds dozens, if not hundreds, of stories. And we can see little pricks of gold light all through them.
Very cool. Yeah.
As it turns, and we look skyward, and we go into the moon.
Yeah. Very cool. That was great.
That was great. That was a lot of fun.
That was really fun. I was a little worried about passing the GM hat off and on, but it seemed to work pretty well. I think it's...
It did. I think there's a little refinement in there as we do it, but I think it worked great.
Yeah, I'm excited for future sessions for sure.
Yeah, I like them. They're a fun duo.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can think of some things that I want to kind of tweak about Gottram a little bit, but
Hmm.
yeah, off to a good start.
Yeah, I think so. I also like all the cool stuff that we came up with, like the book,
Yeah,
and like the more, the usual, and the less,
yeah, for sure.
and like, oh man, that's we just can't like. Not only do we do curses and stuff like that, but we are the ones who tell the stories as well
Mm-hmm.
as we go from place to place.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
I like
There's
it.
there's a lot of potential in this.
Yeah,
So
there
for
is.
those of you who watched, thank you so much for watching.
Yeah,
And
thank you guys.
if you have any ideas about like, things we should think about adding or changing or that sort of thing, be sure to let us know. That would be awesome. We'd love to hear from you. And tell us what you liked. Tell us what could be better. Um, Drew, you want to tell people where they can find you and all that again?
Yeah, you can find me at Twitter at Worlds to Forge.
And you can find me on Twitter at ZapDynamic. Once again, I'm Eli Kurtz. This is Drew Merzieski. And this has been episode 1 of... Actually, no. Chapter 1 of
Chapter 1.
Tellers of Tales. Yeah. All right. So, farewell, everyone. Until next time. See you later.